of being learning disabled as being the only one who can't do it. According to the International Reading Association, 95% of textbooks and 93% of teachers teach comprehension through vocabulary. In other words, we go through the words, we find the words, any words a child's going to have difficulty with, we teach him those words, and then we assume he'll be able to understand the story. The bias behind that, or the theory behind that, is if you understand every word in a paragraph or in a passage, you can understand the passage. Is that true? Let's take a look, okay? Let's look at that column of words, those 3 columns of words. Any words that you've never seen before? Tom, any words you've never seen? No. Ann? Tom? No? Kara? Kit, any words you've never seen before? Maria? No. Can I then make the assumption that you understand every word that's listed here? Can I? Sure I can. Therefore, can I further make the assumption that if I give you a paragraph that contains these words and only these words, you'll be able to understand the paragraph? Can I make that assumption as well? 93% of teachers do. Let's give it a shot. When I say go, we're going to open to the next page, and you're going to follow along while I read a paragraph that contains those words and only those words. And then we'll have a little quiz on it afterwards. Okay? Turn the page, please, and follow along while I read. It says, if the known relation between the variables consists of a table of corresponding values, the graph consists only of the corresponding set of isolated points. If the variables are known to vary continuously, one often draws a curve to show the variation. Stephanie, is that okay with you?
Sure, I agree.
Nancy, you agree?
Sure.
Karen, would you like to take a quiz on that? Debbie? Car?
No.
Raise your hand. I promise I won't pick on you, but raise your hand if you do understand what this paragraph means. I promise I won't pick on you, but raise your hand if you do. Merritt, what's your academic background?
Engineer.
Mathematics. Okay? You see, comprehension has much more to do with background than it does with vocabulary. Merritt is able to understand it not necessarily because he's any brighter than any of us, but his background in his... particularly today, right, Merritt? His background in his training has enabled him to understand this. That's what comprehension is about, not vocabulary. We cannot assume that because a person understands every word in the passage, he can understand the passage. Now, keeping that thought in mind, everybody in the back of your book has a little sheet of paper. Pull that sheet of paper out. And I want you to read silently while I read aloud the paragraph on the bottom of that page. The previous activity, you understood every word in the paragraph, but you couldn't give me any answers to the questions. Now let's watch this. Follow along while I read. It says, last Cerny, Flingeldope and Preben were in the Nerdlink, treppering gloopy caples and cleaming burly greps. Suddenly a diddy struggle boofed into Flingeldope's tresk. Preben glaped and glaped. Oh, Flingeldope, he chafed. That duddy struzzle is tunning in your grep. All right? When did this story take place?
Last Cerny.
Last Cerny, right. Who was with Flingeldope? Preben. Where were they?
In the Nerdlink.
In the Nerdlink, and they were treppering something. What were they treppering?
Gloopy caples.
Wait a minute, what kind of caples?
Gloopy.
Gloopy caples, right. They're also cleaming something. What were they cleaming?
Burly greps.
What kind of greps? Burly greps, right. And then a struggle showed up. What kind of struggle was it? Diddy struggle. Did they expect it? No, they didn't, did they? And what did it do? It boofed. Oh. You can't get that stuff out either. Where did it boof? Into Flingeldope's chest. What did Preben do? He was no help. What did he do? And then he chafed something. What did he chafe? The first story you understood every word, you couldn't answer a question. The second story you don't have any idea what it's about, and you can respond to all the questions. You see, that's how complicated reading comprehension is. It's a very, very complicated task that we expect kids to learn on their own, and they cannot. They need direct instruction. Do we think that visual perception problems can affect behavior? Do you think so? Okay, let's try this on for size. You're a mom or a dad. Your son in the 4th grade comes home and says, Ma, they told me I can't take the school bus again until I'm voting age, but I didn't do anything wrong. What do we automatically assume? Automatically. Of course you did something wrong. You must have done something wrong. You don't get thrown off a school bus for doing nothing wrong. You must have done something wrong. Let's take a look at that. Because many times the learning disabled child, certainly not all the time, but many times the LD child will get into trouble and not know what he did wrong. And when he says, I don't know what I did wrong, he's being honest. And we're going to give that activity a shot right now. Here's what we're going to do. I brought in a picture today, and I'm going to show everybody this picture. And all I want everyone to do is to write a nice title for the picture. There's your picture. All right? Everyone, a good title for that picture, please. Something I'm going to like. No talking, just come up with a good title for the picture. Maria, do you like your answer?
Yes.
Carol, do you like yours? Stephanie, do you like yours? Is this good enough for me to read in front of the class?
Yes.
Okay. Stephanie gave me an answer that she says is not only good, but it's good enough for me to read in front of the class, okay? Are you trying to be funny here, Stephanie? No. Excuse me, class. Do you think this is funny? No. Did you write this to be funny? No, I didn't. Would you like to see how funny I think this is, Stephanie? You know, I can think of nothing that a kid can write on a piece of paper that gives a teacher the right to tear it up in front of them. And yet it happens in schools all the time. And when I'm consulting at a school and they tell me there's a teacher who tears papers up in front of them, I say this to the teacher. I say to the teacher, suppose you passed in your contracts to your grades, your grade report cards at the end of the year to your principal, your final reports. And you handed them to your principal, and the principal took them and he looked at it and he said, nah, this isn't what I had in mind, and he tore them up in front of you. I've never met a teacher that would tolerate that, yet we feel very comfortable doing it with kids. But let's get back to Stephanie, because Stephanie not only gave me an answer that was fresh, but then made it worse by telling me that it was good enough to read in front of the class. Well, you're not going to think it's very funny when you stay in for recess for a week, Stephanie, and when your mother comes in for a conference. And you know what she's going to say, class? You know what she's going to say? I got in trouble with Mr. Lavoie today, but I didn't do anything wrong, because that's what she always says. You want to know what fresh answer Stephanie gave me and then embarrassed me by telling me it was good enough to read in front of the class? Death stalker. Death stalker. Here, I take the time, now take a look at it. I take the time to bring in a beautiful picture of a woman looking at herself in the mirror. Take a look at it. Okay? You see it, Stephanie? You see it? The back of her head, she's seeing a reflection in the mirror. Okay? Okay? Many times, not all the time, but many times a learning disabled child will get in trouble and will literally not know what he or she did wrong. The coach will say, everybody get in the left-hand side of the gym. Our kid stands on the right-hand side of the gym, and the coach says, that's it, you can't play. The child says, but I didn't do anything wrong. Because to his perception, he didn't. See, what happened is you responded to what you perceived. You misperceived the stimulus. Based on Stephanie's perception of this stimulus, that was a very good answer. But see, I wear the suit. I'm the teacher. And I determine what the stimulus is. And this is not a picture of a skull. There's no skull in this picture. It's not a matter of debate. This is not a skull. It's a picture of a woman looking at herself in a mirror. It's a classic picture called vanity. So I was expecting answers like the big night out or getting ready for the prom or something like that. I certainly wasn't expecting something like death stalker. Okay? But again, what you did is you perceived, you reacted to the stimulus that you perceived, and then, if you could have seen the look on Stephanie's face, she was thinking, what is he so upset about? What did I do wrong? All I want you to